Hello, I'm Jack Blanchard.
And I'm Adam Wren, sitting in for Dasha Burns this morning.
It is Thursday, May the 22nd, and this is the Playbook Podcast. Let's get going on the three big topics that are driving the day today in American politics. The first, once again, Congress taking center stage as the Republicans try and get what Donald Trump calls his big, beautiful bill through Congress and into law. This is moving so quickly through the night. I'm going to recommend that you have a look at the Playbook newsletter instead, which is right up to the minute when it comes out at 6 a.m. for the latest on that. Just as it did yesterday, we'll be driving a lot of the news agenda through your Thursday. The second thing you definitely need to be aware of that's happening today is happening in the White House, because the Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., his Make America Healthy Again Commission is issuing its first report this afternoon. There's going to be an event at the White House alongside Donald Trump, of course, and it's going to be laying out what he says, or the commission says, are its findings on the causes of chronic diseases in children. Adam, this is something that RFK Jr. has gone on about for many, many years, and really one of the main reasons he wanted this job. There have been concerns raised by farming groups that he's going to really lay into some of the pesticides that they rely on. He's saying that's not true, but if you look at his past comments, he's certainly been very, very minded to be aggressively anti many pesticides. Do you think this report's going to be a big moment for him, and do you think it's going to go down well with supporters?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the undertold stories of the second Trump administration is just how popular RFK Jr. is as a cabinet secretary, and sort of the built-in constituency that he has for MAHA across the country. I had a chance to go to an event that he did out in Indiana with Dr. Oz, where he was essentially overseeing some policy changes, executive orders at the state level in Indiana for removing candy and soda from SNAP benefits and increasing access to fresh food. And it was remarkable to see the number of official Republicans, coming into a room, crowding into a room, jostling for good spacing, including people like Republican Representative Victoria Spartz, who wanted to be at the very front of the room. I mean, he has a lot of juice with primary voters, and people were openly talking about him running for president in 2028, even though he's a former Democrat. And so I think this will be absolutely popular. And one of the check marks, the guideposts for the success of the Trump coalition will be how much forward progress MAHA makes in the coming months and years.
The thing I want to watch for is, I just wonder about this. Like, you can, when you're in opposition, right, or when you're an activist, you can kind of be anti all sorts of things that it's kind of impractical to be anti, because, you don't have to deal with the difficult compromises of actually running a country. Now that RFK Jr. is in power and he's actually having to implement some of these policies, and inevitably you find that, this thing I always thought, maybe I wasn't quite right, or this group really hates it and actually I hadn't thought about the repercussions of it. Okay, we'll tone that bit down. And suddenly you've betrayed the cause, you've gone native, all that stuff that people accuse people of when they go into power. I don't know. I haven't seen the report, but you could imagine it playing out in some corners of the internet like that.
I think you're right, Jack. And one of the things that's interesting to note about this particular cabinet secretary is he has the virtue of having run for president, and not too long ago. I mean, this is someone who comes in with his own sort of star power. And I think that there's a risk here of him becoming an Elon Musk-like figure who, while what he does is popular with the base, ultimately he could be a political liability ahead of the midterms for Trump in 2026, particularly with, some suburban moms who, are worried about having fluoride removed from the water, or any of number of other MAHA agenda items.
And the third thing that's really going to dominate the day today, and is certainly going to dominate the night tonight, will be President Trump's dinner. This is a completely amazing thing that Donald Trump is doing this evening. Like, even by his extraordinary standards, Donald Trump will tonight get in a motorcade and head off to his private golf club just outside of Washington, D.C., and he is going to host, or at least speak at, a private dinner for 220 very rich people who have invested the most money in his own personal meme coin, his digital asset that he launched a couple of days before he became president. It's called the Trump coin. He launched it just before he came into the White House. People's jaws dropped that an about to be president would do this. He's now really doubling down on the venture with this new special dinner thing that he's doing. And he's not being hidden about it. It's tonight. 220 crypto bros are coming for dinner with the president of the United States because of the amount they've invested. According to NBC, they have invested $394 million in Trump's official cryptocurrency. Varying amounts. The average is something like $1.7 million per person to get into this dinner. Some of them have spent more than $10 million. The top 25 spenders get to go to a special private reception with Trump before this dinner. I've never heard of anything like this happening anywhere in the world. This money doesn't go directly to Donald Trump, to be clear. And it says on the website he's speaking at this dinner as a sort of as a guest speaker. He is not directly profiting from it. But the Trump organization and its affiliates essentially own 80% of these Trump coins. So in theory, when the value of them goes up, people who own those coins go up. Now it's complicated, and who knows, crypto things sometimes go horribly wrong, sometimes they go horribly right. But whatever. It is a truly extraordinary situation to see a president of the United States having a private venture like this, which nobody is directly saying somehow breaks the rules, but which Democrats are describing it casually as brazenly corrupt. Senator Chris Murphy called it the Trump coin scam is the most brazenly corrupt thing a president has ever done. Adam, have you ever seen an American leader doing anything comparable to this?
Yeah, I mean, we know that Jimmy Carter put his peanut farm in a blind trust before taking office. It was a massive scandal in the 1990s when Bill Clinton used the Lincoln bedroom to put up donors in and for fundraising. And this is something that's a different animal altogether. I mean, it's certainly breathtaking and remarkable, and it comes just a day after the Defense Department, announced that they would officially accept the plane from Qatar that's going to be serving as Air Force One. So, certainly a trend to monitor. This is a White House that has said they are going to be the most transparent administration ever. And in some ways, what's happening these last 2 days is transparent. It's transparently an ethical problem. And even Republicans are saying this. People like Tucker Carlson, people like Laura Loomer, who have criticized the Qatar plane deal. Steve Bannon is said to be suspicious about the plane deal in talks privately with people. So, I mean, this is another instance of, certainly the whiff of foul dealing. And so it's curious where all this is gonna go.
Absolutely. A whiff is generous. I'm going to say huge, overpowered stench of foul dealing. I should say White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says that Donald Trump is, quote, abiding by all conflict of interest laws. She says the president acts with only the interest of the American public in mind. It's hard to square him acting only with the interest of the American public in mind with going off and having this private meme thing, which he is obviously piggybacking on the back of his presidency, even if he is having this dinner at his private golf club. There's only one reason why all these people want to spend nearly $400 million to have dinner with him. That's because he's the president of the United States. This is someone who is clearly launching business ventures to try and hopefully, in his mind, make big profits off the fact that he was president. We've talked a lot about Joe Biden on this podcast this week for obvious reasons. And I was thinking back to some of the criticisms of his son, Hunter Biden, from many of the Republicans who now support Donald Trump. The sort of criticisms being thrown at Hunter Biden about profiting off what his dad was doing, does that sort of equate with this? Can you see comparisons with this?
Yeah, I mean, we know that congressional Republicans in 2023 were pushing for significant investigations into his art dealing, into his paintings, and they wanted to know who was buying these paintings, what connections they had with the Biden administration. So, and that's removed to the progeny of a president at this point. But right now, this is actually, Trump himself connected to this crypto dinner, and so it is remarkable and breathtaking.
I guess the important question about all this stuff, whether it's the $400 million jet plane that they accepted yesterday or the $400 million that's been spent on the cryptocurrency for tonight's dinner, politically, what matters is how much does the American public care about this stuff and how much is it going to harm, let's say, Republican chances of the midterm elections. That's the next time we have a potential power shift. How much does it harm Trump's successor in 2028? Donald Trump's gamble has to be that people don't care. They're not paying that much attention. He's not standing for president again anyway. And so push the boundaries and see what you can get away with, essentially, which has been his approach to many aspects of this presidency, right? Judicial stuff on the border, all sorts of things. Let's see how far we can push this. It feels like that is happening here as well. Do you think this stuff has cut through? You live in real America, unlike me, who's like stuck in the middle of DC in an elite bubble. My sense is people are probably not going down to the bar tonight and chatting about Donald Trump's cryptocurrency dinner, right? They're just not.
No, I don't think it has broken through, and I'm not certain it will break through. I mean, people are focused on the cost of groceries, whether or not they're able to put food on the table, go on a vacation this summer, the price of gas. I think what they're most concerned about is Trump marshaling his political power on their behalf, and that could run right headlong into the big beautiful bill and the cuts to Medicaid that we're potentially seeing, depending on where this all ends up. And so, they may ultimately make the calculation that if he is enriching himself while, cutting their benefits, that could be problematic ahead of the midterms, or it could not break through at all. It's hard to say. I think that often in DC, people think that something is going to make a difference in the lives of everyday voters in terms of a political calculation, and it never really happens. The Madison Square Garden rally that happened just before the election was massive news among political consultants and the chattering class, and it really did make a difference. Springfield, Ohio really did make a difference in the calculations of voters. So this may be another thing like that.
There you go. Maybe the big, beautiful bill is still the only thing that really matters that's happening today. Before we finish, we always like to go and find something fun for you out of the Playbook newsletter today. Happy birthday to Lisa Murkowski, one of the most notable senators, I would say, from the Republican conference. Even in London 5 years ago, watching American politics from afar, everybody knew who Lisa Murkowski was because she just held this pivotal role.
The pride of Alaska, maybe not exactly the pride of the MAHA movement. Certainly not a close friend to President Trump's coalition.
Indeed. All right. Thanks very much, Adam. That was great today. That's all we've got time for this morning, but we have much more news and analysis in today's Playbook newsletter, which you can find at politico.com/playbook. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a great Thursday.